Hello students, today we are going to discuss about last member of this kingdom and that is angiosperms. Angiosperms are also considered as a flowering plants because each member of this angiosperm will have flowers. Okay, and that's why they are considered as a flowering plants. And here you have to remember exceptionally this group of a plant that is the angiosperms are a large group of plants. Okay, because in most of the plants are included in this group. Okay, so here you have to remember exceptionally large group of plants included in the angiosperms. Okay, and they will ranges from the size from tiny, almost microscopic. Here you can see this is Wolffia. Okay, it is a microscopic structure. Okay, so tiny to tall trees. Okay, so here you can see tall trees, that is the eucalyptus trees. Okay, so here you can see a size variety, means variety of size you can observe here, tiny to tall. If you consider tiny angiosperm, that is example is a Wolffia. Okay, and if you consider tall trees in case of angiosperm, that is considered as a eucalyptus, and that may be over 100 meter in length. Okay, so we remember this with these examples. They are divided into classes. Means further we can divide these angiosperms into classes. So into two classes. First is a dicotyledon class, and second one is a monocotyledon. So first of all, let me start with the dicotyledons. Okay, so here you have to remember why it is considered as a dicotyledons, because di means two. Okay, cotyledons means here two cotyledons will be there inside the seed, and that's why this whole group of plants will consider as a dicotyledons. Okay, here you can see this diagram. Okay, here two cotyledons will be present inside the seed, and that's why this group of plant is considered as a dicotyledon, and that is included into angiosperms. Okay, and here one very good observation here you can observe inside the leaf. If you observe leaves, they will have reticulate venation. Okay, so here web-like venation will be there, and that is considered as a reticulate venation. So this is also very good characteristic of any dicotyledons. Okay, and then tetramerous or a pentamerous means each structure will be in 4 number or maybe in 5 number. If it is in 4 number, then it is considered as tetramerous, and if having a 5 in member, then it is considered as a pentamerous. Okay, so tetramerous or a pentamerous flowers here means 4 or 5 members in each floral wall. Here you can see this is a 4. So this one is considered as a tetramerous flower, and these having a 5, so it is considered as a pentamerous flower. So this is very good characteristic of any dicotyledons. Next group is the monocotyledons. So here you will observe, as I told you already, during dicotyledon there is a two cotyledon present. Okay, here mono means one. Okay, so here you will observe only one cotyledon inside the seed. Okay, like this. Here you can see this is the seed structure. Okay, inside one single cotyledon will be present inside the seed, and that's why this whole group of plant is considered as a monocotyledons. So here how we can differentiate it with the dicotyledon? Here only one cotyledon will be present, whereas in case of a dicotyledon there are two cotyledon will present. Okay, so this is the differentiating between the monocotyledon and dicotyledon. Second important differentiation phenomena is a parallel venation. Here you can see all the venation or veins will be parallel. Okay, not reticulate, not web like. Here you will observe parallel venation. So here one good characteristic of leaves, this is the parallel venation. Okay, so this is a characteristic phenomena found in the monocotyledon. Then here flowers will be three, having the three members. So here you can see trimerous flower will be observed. So this is the example in which you can see here. Okay, trimerous flower means the all member of the flower will having three members. So three member in each floral wall. You can observe these in the diagram. So now let me discuss about reproduction in angiosperms. So here you have to remember that flower is nothing but is a one kind of a reproductive structure of a plant. Okay, so here plant having a reproductive structure, and that is in the form of a flower. So this is the flower, and that is considered as a reproductive unit or reproductive structure of a plant. So male sex organ in a flower is a stamen. You know very well this is the stamen. Okay, and that is considered as a male sex organ which is responsible for the pollen grain formation, and each stamen will consist of a filament. This is called filament. This greenish color is called filament. Okay, and on the top of this filament there is a bulgy structure, and that is called anther. and anther is one bag-like structure inside which pollen grain will be formed. Okay, so this any stamen, if you observe any stamen, that will have a filament. Okay, and this is the structure in which pollen grain will be formed, and that is called anther. And this anther will be connected with the filament by using connectives. So any stamen will have these three structures: filament, anther, and connective. Okay, and within the anther, the pollen grain or the pollen mother cell is there, inside which it will divide by using meiotic phenomena. Okay, so pollen mother cell will divide. Pollen mother cell itself will be diploid. Okay, now pollen mother cell itself is a diploid and it will divide meiotically. Okay, and you know very well, meiosis is the responsible event in which diploid number of chromosome will convert into haploid number. Okay, so by this way, pollen mother cell will divide meiotically, and finally, what will produce? Microspore will be produced, and this microspore itself will be haploid number of chromosome. Okay, means these all will be having haploid structure, which mature into pollen grain. Finally, pollen grain will be formed inside this structure, and this is called anther. So we have discussed about male sex organ of the flower, and that is called this stamen. Okay, and now let me discuss about female sex organ of the flower, and that is considered as a pistil. So particular name for this is a pistil. Okay, so you can observe here, this is the pistil, and it consists of swollen ovary. Here you can see at the bottom place, this one, the swollen part is called ovary. Okay, and its base, here you can see it is at the base, a long slender style, this one, this long slender style. Okay, and on the top of this style, there is a very receptive structure, and this is called stigma. So any swollen means any pistil, here you can see this is the pistil, and that is considered as a female sex organ having a three component. Okay, ovary at the base, then style, and tipmost means the uppermost tip is considered as a stigma, and this is receptive portion for the pollen grain. Okay, so this is considered a stigma. Here you can see. Okay, and ovary contain ovule, inside which you can see here ovules will be there, or egg cells will be there. Okay, and this whole structure we can say is as a pistil. Also it is considered as a gynoecium. Okay, and here this is called stamen, or also you can consider as a androecium. Inside the ovary of a pistil, here you can see this is the ovary of a pistil. Okay, inside which there may be a single ovule or maybe more than one ovule. Here you can see more than one ovule is there. Okay, so let me discuss about ovule. What is the ovule? An ovule has the megaspore mother cell, and be very clear here. Okay, megaspore mother cell itself is a diploid. Okay, this diploid cell will undergo meiotic division. Okay, meiosis will occur, and as a result of meiosis, it will generate 4 haploid megaspore. Okay, so from megaspore mother cell, which is diploid and will undergo meiosis, and a result of meiosis, it will be result into 4 haploid megaspore. Okay, and out of these all 4, one will only remain. Out of these all 4, only one will remain, and 3 of them will degenerate. Okay, means 3 of them will be degenerate or void off, and one of them will be divided to form embryo sac. And finally, from the one which is survived will have division, and then it will generate embryo sac. Okay, so here you can see this will form the 4 megaspore here. Okay, and out of these 4, only one will survive, 3 will be degenerate, and then it will form this megaspore embryo sac. Okay, megaspore will now convert into embryo sac like this. Okay, here you can see 3 will be degenerate, only one will be survive. So here it is written functional megaspore. Okay, and it will be responsible for formation of a embryo sac. So now let me discuss about embryo sac. What is the embryo sac and what is the further events after that? So each embryo sac has a 3-cell structure. Okay, and that 3-cell structure is called egg apparatus. Here you can see this is the embryo sac. Okay, inside which you can see 2 nucleus is there, then 4 nucleus is there. These all will divide mitotically. Okay, one round of mitosis, it will generate 4. Then 4 further undergoes the mitotic division, and it will generate 8. Okay, and finally this 8 will rearrange like this. 3 remain here, 3 remain here, and 2 will remain in the center like that. Okay, let me repeat. First of all, what happened? Egg apparatus will have only one nucleus. Then further, it will undergo mitotic divisions. Okay, and one nucleus, if undergo mitotic division, it will generate 2 nucleus. Then further mitotic division, 4 nucleus. Then further mitotic division, 8 nucleus, like this. Okay, this is all happen inside the embryo sac. And finally, this nucleus will rearrange like this. 3 will remain at this end. Okay, this is called antipodal cells or a nucleus. And here, this is called micropylar end. And inside which, in the center, there will be egg cell. And both of the side, there will be synergid. So, synergid will be in 2. Okay, in number 2, and egg will be in the center, and whole structure, these 2 synergid cells and 1 egg cell, whole structure together is called egg apparatus. Means egg apparatus is comprised of 1 egg cell which is in the center and 2 synergids which is in the sides. Okay, so 3 antipodal cell, here you can see 3 antipodal cell at the opposite end. Okay, in the center there will be polar nucleus. So by this way, 3 cell here, 3 cell here and 2 cell here, 8 cell will be rearranged like this. Okay, and it will responsible for formation of egg apparatus. Now you may be very clear what is the egg apparatus. Egg apparatus is comprised of 1 egg cell which is in the center, okay, and 2 synergid cell which will out means in the sides. Okay, and 3 antipodal cells here. Okay, and in the center, 2 polar nuclei. The polar nuclei eventually fuse to produce secondary nucleus sometime, and that will be diploid. So these two will fuse together sometime. Okay, it will generate diploid structure. So now let me summarize up to this. So this is the plant. Okay, this is angiosperm plant, inside which you can understand here a reproductive structure is there, and that is called flower. And flower will have this ovary, style and stigma. This is whole structure is a pistil and the stamen. Okay, here inside with the ovary there is a megaspore formation. Okay, and here inside the anther there is a pollen grain formation. Finally here you can understand inside the ovary ovule will be formed. Okay, and inside the ovule, you know very well, embryo sac will be formed, and inside the embryo sac there is a egg apparatus. Okay, and inside the egg apparatus there is a egg cell, you know very well now. Okay, so now egg cell is ready for the fertilization, and then the pollen grain will be released. So pollen grain will release from the anther, and that is called dispersion. Okay, so pollen grains are dispersed from the anthers. The anther will be blast. Okay, and it will release the pollen grain, and this is called dispersal. So pollen grain are dispersed from the anthers and carried out by the wind or maybe other agencies like this. You can see here, this is the honeybee. They can also carry the pollen grain from one flower to another. Okay, and this is called other agencies, maybe living or maybe non-living. So to the stigma means one flower to another stigma, and this whole process of a pollination means transport of a pollen grain from one flower to another, it is called pollination. Okay, and the pollen grain germinate on the stigma. As it reach up to the stigma, it will land on the stigma, okay, of the pistil, and then it will germinate, okay, and the stigma, and resulting into the pollen tube. Here you can see this is the pollen grain. It will form this pollen tube, and these pollen tube will be enter inside the embryo sac. Okay, and it will reproduce or fertilize this egg cell. Okay, so here pollen tube is playing very important role for the fertilization. It will grow through the tissue of stigma and style and reach up to the ovule. Here you can see this is the pollen grain. Okay, and then this is the pollen tube which is formed. Okay, and it will reach or enter inside the embryo sac of ovule. So now let me see what happened next. The pollen tube which is enter in the embryo sac where two male gamete, here you can see two male gamete will be there inside the pollen tube. Okay, now this pollen tube will be enter inside the embryo sac. Okay, so where two male gametes are discharged means these two male gametes will be included or inserted into the embryo sac. Okay, will enter inside the embryo sac. Now one male gamete fuse with the egg cell. You know very well in here in the center, in the egg apparatus in the center there is the egg cell. So one out of these two, since two male gamete is there, one out of these two will merge or fertilize this egg cell. Okay, one male gamete will fuse with the egg cell and it will form zygote. Okay, this zygote will now having diploid structure. Okay, and this phenomena is called syngamy. Okay, let me repeat what happened. One male gamete out of these two will fuse with the egg cell which is part of egg apparatus. Okay, and it will form zygote that will be diploid. And this whole phenomena of fusing that is called syngamy. Okay, and the other male gamete, you know very well, I told you there is two male gametes are there. So out of this one will gamete will fuse with the egg cell, and another which will remain will fuse with the diploid secondary nucleus. You know very well, in the center there is a diploid secondary nucleus, that is a 2N or a diploid in structure we can say. Okay, that is a diploid secondary nucleus, and to produce triploid, this is the haploid, and in the center there is a diploid. So when this haploid structure or haploid gamete will fuse with the diploid structure, it will generate triploid structure. So finally in the center, triploid structure will be formed. Okay, and here diploid structure will be formed. So here we can say a zygote will be formed, that is called syngamy. Okay, and here second, another male gamete will fuse with the secondary here nucleus, and this is the diploid already, and that's why it will form triploid structure. So after all event, two structure will be formed, one will be diploid and one will be triploid. One diploid structure is called zygote, and triploid structure will call primary endosperm nucleus or a PEN. So at the end of this whole process, two structure will be formed. One will be diploid, and that is a zygote. Okay, and second one is a triploid, and that is called PEN or a primary endosperm. During this whole process, you can understand involvement of a two fusion is there. So two time fusion will occur, and that's why this whole process is called double fertilization. Why this is called double fertilization? Because of involvement of a two fusion. Because once this will fuse this egg cell, okay, second one will fuse with the secondary nucleus, and by this way one triploid structure will form, one diploid structure will form, and that's why this whole phenomena where two time fertilization will occur, and that's why this is called double fertilization. It is an event unique to angiosperms. So this is the event only found in the angiosperms. Okay, that's why here written this is a unique event of the angiosperm. Here double fertilization is a very general phenomena. Zygote develop into embryo. Okay, so afterward what happened? You know very well, after double fertilization, two structure form. One is a zygote and second is a PEN. So from the zygote, further development it occur, and as a result of that, zygote will undergo further development, rounds of development, and then finally it will reach up to the embryo stage. Okay, so finally it will develop into the embryo. Okay, with one or two cotyledon. In case of a monocotyledons, it will be having one cotyledon. In case of a dicotyledon, they will have two cotyledons. So by this way, zygote will further divide and develop into finally embryo, and then the second structure, which is triploid. Okay, this PEN will develop into endosperm, which provide nourishment. Okay, during whole process nourishment is required, and this whole nourishment will be provided by endosperm, which is formed from the PEN, that is a triploid structure. Okay, so PEN develop, that is a triploid structure, will develop into endosperm, which provide nourishment to the developing embryo, and synergids antipodal degenerate after the fertilization. So you can understand these all other cells which is none of the value or none of the work or a functioning, it will be degenerate after fertilization. And finally, during these all events, ovule will now develop into cysts. Okay, and ovaries will develop into the fruit. So finally you can see how fruit will be formed. So ovaries will be developed into fruit. Okay, and ovules will be developed into the seed. Here you can see. So this is the seeds, and which are in previously there may be ovules, and this is the fruit. In previous there may be ovaries. So any fruit are a development or a develop from the ovaries, and any seeds will be developed from the ovules. The seeds are enclosed by the fruit. You know very well, seeds are always or mostly covered by the or enclosed in the fruits. So this is your homework for today's lecture, and before we finish this lecture, let me summarize whole topic, whole chapter by using one animation video. So look at this video.
You must have come across banana plantations, apple orchards, or herbs such as basil. You may have also seen flowers such as lotus and roses growing in ponds and gardens. All these are species of flowering plants, also called angiosperms. These are plants in which the ovules develop inside the flowers. The seeds too are enclosed in fruits, and they can be monocotyledonous or dicotyledonous. A typical flower of an angiosperm contains the stamen and the pistil. the male and female sex organs respectively. The stamen consists of two parts, filament and anther. The microsporangia inside the anther contain the microspore mother cells. These mother cells undergo meiosis to produce microspores, which then develop into pollen grains, the male gametophytes. The pollen grains are produced inside the anther. On the other hand, the pistil consists of the stigma at the tip, followed by the style in the middle and an ovary at the base. The ovules or the megasporangia are present inside the ovary. These ovules contain the megaspore mother cell, which, following meiosis, develops into the haploid female gametophyte called the embryo sac. The embryo sac has a three-celled egg apparatus consisting of one egg cell, two synergids, three antipodal cells, and two polar nuclei. The polar nuclei eventually fuse to produce a diploid secondary nucleus. The embryo sac now becomes ready for fertilization, which in the case of angiosperms takes place by a process called pollination. During pollination, the anther disperses the pollen grains, which are then carried by agents such as the wind and insects, and are deposited over the stigma of a pistil. Here, the pollen grain germinates and produces a pollen tube. This tube penetrates the tissues of the stigma and style to enter the embryo sac inside the ovule. It discharges two male gametes inside the embryo sac. While one gamete fuses with the egg cell to produce a zygote, the other gamete fuses with the diploid secondary nucleus to produce the triploid primary endosperm nucleus. This event is called double fertilization as it involves two fusions. Interestingly, double fertilization is observed only in angiosperms. After fertilization, the synergids and antipodals degenerate. On the other hand, the zygote develops into an embryo and the primary endosperm nucleus develops into an endosperm, which nourishes the zygote. Simultaneously, the ovule develops into a seed and the ovary into a fruit. The seed germinates and the embryo develops into a new plant. Angiosperms are one of the biggest plant groups, and they grow in diverse habitats such as land and water, as well as in different climatic conditions. Besides being a source of food, they supply us with fuel, fodder, and medicines. Thus, angiosperms form an integral part of the ecosystem as well as of our
Next
daily
lecture,
lives.
we will learn about last topic of this chapter, and that is plant life cycle and alternation of a generation. Okay, so till that, goodbye.